When my mother texted me on Christmas Eve saying dinner was canceled due to a massive snowstorm, I spent the night alone eating takeout. But hours later, my sister posted a photo with our parents around a lavishly decorated table, captioned, "Celebrating Christmas with family." I left a simple comment, "Looks wonderful." Within 3 seconds, the photo was deleted. Seconds after that, my phone began ringing uncontrollably. What my family didn't realize was that I wasn't just sitting at home being heartbroken. I held the deed to the very house they were celebrating in, and their deliberate betrayal was about to cost them everything. My name is Anna Richardson. I'm 32 years old, and up until last Christmas Eve, I genuinely believed that blood was thicker than water. When my mother texted me at 4 p.m. claiming that our traditional Christmas Eve dinner was canceled due to a severe winter storm warning, I didn't question it. I felt bad for her. Sent a warm text telling her to stay safe and cozy, and settled into my apartment alone with a lukewarm bowl of takeout noodles. Outside, the roads were completely clear, but I figured she was just being overly cautious. 4 hours later, I was casually scrolling through social media when my stomach dropped. My younger sister, Chloe, had just uploaded a photo. There they were, my mother, my father, and Chloe, sitting around a grand, lavishly decorated dining table overflowing with roast turkey, fine wine, and festive lights. Everyone was dressed up, smiling broadly. The caption read, "Celebrating Christmas Eve with the people who matter most, blessed with family." They hadn't canceled dinner. They had just canceled me. A cold, heavy numbness washed over my chest, quickly turning into a sharp, burning anger. Without overthinking it, I typed a simple 3-word comment right under her picture. "Looks wonderful, family." Within 3 seconds, the photo was deleted. Seconds after that, my phone began ringing uncontrollably on my coffee table. My mother's name flashing across the screen. To understand how we ended up here, you have to understand the dynamic of the Richardson family. Growing up, there was never any doubt about who the favorite child was. Chloe was 3 years younger, bubbly, outgoing, and effortlessly charismatic. My parents treated her like a golden trophy, catering to her every whim, while I was always expected to be the sensible, quiet one who kept her head down and worked hard. When I was in college, I paid my own way through scholarships and working late-night shifts at a local diner. Meanwhile, my parents gladly emptied their savings to fund Chloe's expensive private college tuition, her designer wardrobe, and her frequent weekend trips. I never held it against Chloe. I loved my sister. And I believed that if I just worked hard enough and achieved success, my parents would eventually see me as an equal. By 30, I had built a thriving corporate consulting career. I lived frugally, invested wisely, and built a solid financial foundation. My parents, on the other hand, lived far beyond their means to maintain an image of wealth they couldn't afford. Mostly to keep up with the lavish lifestyle Chloe insisted on maintaining even into adulthood. Despite all my efforts to be the supportive daughter, handling their paperwork, fixing their financial messes, and always showing up when they needed help, I remained the designated outcast. I was the reliable safety net they called when things went wrong, but the moment it came to celebrating life's special moments, I was treated like an afterthought. Seeing that photo on Christmas Eve wasn't just a simple mistake. It was the ultimate confirmation that no matter how much I gave, I would never truly belong in their world unless I was serving a purpose for them. But what they forgot was that safety nets can be pulled away at any moment. My phone kept buzzing on the glass table, vibrating with a frantic rhythm. I picked it up on the 4th ring, letting the silence stretch for a moment before speaking. "Hello?" I said, my voice deliberately flat. "Anna." "Oh, thank goodness you answered," my mother gasped, her breath coming in shallow, unnatural hitches. "Look, about Chloe's post. It was all a big misunderstanding. She posted an old picture from 2 years ago by mistake, sweetie. You know how clumsy she is with her phone." I almost laughed at the sheer absurdity of the lie. "Mom, The roast turkey in that photo is sitting on the tablecloth I bought you last month, and Chloe is wearing the sweater you gave her for her birthday last week. Try again." Dead silence fell over the line. Then, the line clicked as the call shifted to speakerphone, and my father's stern voice came through. "All right, Anna, let's be adults here. We didn't invite you tonight because Chloe's new fiancé, Julian, is here with his parents. His father is a prominent venture capitalist, and they are extremely high society people." "And what does that have to do with me?" I asked, a cold spike driving into my chest. "You're just too intense, Anna," my mother chimed in, dropping her fake sweetness. "You talk about corporate work, budgeting, and logic. Julian's family values traditional elegance and effortless grace. Chloe was worried you'd make the evening awkward or make her look bad with your practical nature. We just wanted Chloe to have her perfect night without any distractions." They hadn't just excluded me. They had hidden me like an embarrassing family secret to help Chloe land a rich fiancé. They wanted the image of a flawless, elite family, and in their eyes, the daughter who actually worked for a living didn't fit the frame. I hung up the phone without saying another word. My mother was still trying to justify their betrayal, but her voice was drowned out by the roaring clarity in my mind. They thought I was an embarrassment, a rigid, overly practical nuisance who ruined their illusion of high society perfection. But what they failed to realize, or chose to ignore, was that their entire, perfect life was a complete lie, funded directly by me. 2 years ago, my father's reckless investments and Chloe's endless demands caught up with them. The bank issued a formal notice of foreclosure on the family estate, the very house they were currently hosting Julian's wealthy family in. Devastated and facing public humiliation, my parents came to me on their knees, begging for a lifeline. I didn't just lend them money, I bought the entire property out of foreclosure. I paid off the lingering debts, assumed the mortgage under my name, and allowed them to live there under a private lease agreement. They paid a minimal monthly rent, which they were often late on, while I quietly covered the taxes, maintenance, and insurance. To protect their fragile pride, we agreed to keep the arrangement secret. As far as the world knew, my parents still owned the estate. They had used my hard-earned money to save their home, relied on my financial intelligence to shield themselves from bankruptcy, and then locked me out of the front door because I didn't fit the image they wanted to project to a rich young man. I stood up, walked over to my desk, and pulled out the thick leather folder containing the master deed and lease documents. The time for being the quiet, compliant safety net was over. I grabbed my coat, slipped the legal documents into my leather bag, and drove through the crisp winter night. When I pulled up to the estate, the driveway was lined with sleek, high-end sedans. Through the large front windows, I could see the chandelier glowing over a dining table set with crystal stemware and silver platters. Everyone was laughing. My parents playing the gracious, wealthy hosts, Chloe leaning into Julian with a rehearsed, dazzling smile. I unlocked the front door using my key and stepped into the foyer. The soft chime of the door echoed through the house, abruptly cutting off the laughter in the dining room. I walked straight into the formal dining room, taking off my gloves. "Good evening, everyone," I said smoothly, casting a calm smile around the table. "Sorry I'm late. The storm cleared up faster than expected." My mother's face drained of all color, her wine glass wobbling in her hand. Chloe froze, her eyes wide with sheer panic as she stared at me. My father half stood from his chair, stammering, "Anna, what are you doing here?" "I couldn't miss Christmas Eve," I replied pleasantly, turning toward the distinguished couple seated next to Chloe. "You must be Julian's parents. I'm Anna Richardson, the sole owner and landlord of this property." Julian's father raised an eyebrow, looking between my sweating parents and me in confusion. "Landlord? I was under the impression this was the Richardson family estate." Chloe scrambled out of her seat, grabbing my arm tightly and whispering furiously, "Anna, get out right now. You are ruining everything." I didn't budge. I gently shook off her hand, looked Julian's father dead in the eye, and smiled. Oh, it was their estate. Until I bought it out of foreclosure. The room fell into a stunned silence. Julian's father set his fork down, his eyes darting between my pale, trembling parents and the leather folder in my hands. Is this true? Julian asked, turning to Chloe with a look of deep concern and skepticism. You told me your family owned this entire property outright. Chloe stammered, tears of frustration brimming in her eyes. Julian, no, she's lying. She's just jealous because she's single and bitter. Mom, tell him. My mother tried to laugh it off, though her voice shook violently. It's just a family financial arrangement, Julian. Anna helps with the management side. Management? I interrupted calmly, pulling the master deed and the past due lease agreement from my bag and laying them neatly on the table beside the turkey. My parents haven't owned this home in 2 years. I pay the property taxes, the insurance, and the mortgage. And as for my parents, they haven't paid their minimal rent in 3 months. My father slammed his fist on the table, his face turning beet red. Anna, that is enough. You are embarrassing this family in front of our guests. You embarrassed yourselves the moment you lied to exclude me from my own home, I replied, my voice cool and sharp. You wanted to project an image of high society and wealth to secure a lucrative match for Chloe, while treating the daughter who saved you from homelessness like a shameful secret. Julian's mother stood up slowly, her expression cold as she adjusted her coat. Julian, we are leaving. I will not sit here while a family builds an entire relationship on elaborate lies and deception. As Julian's horrified family walked out the door, leaving Chloe sobbing hysterically at the table, I looked at my parents. You have 30 days to clear out. My lease agreement is officially terminated. 3 months have passed since that Christmas Eve, and the dust has finally settled. My parents couldn't afford to fight the eviction, nor could they afford to buy the house back. The estate has been listed on the market, and the proceeds will be invested entirely into my own future. Julian's family ended the engagement immediately after that night, unwilling to connect themselves with a family built on deception and financial pretense. Chloe had to move into a modest 1-bedroom apartment and take a full-time job to support herself, a harsh dose of reality she was long overdue to experience. My parents moved into a small rental, finally learning to live within their actual means instead of relying on my silent sacrifices. Cutting ties with my family wasn't easy, but setting those hard boundaries brought a level of peace I had never known before. I learned that you cannot buy love or respect from people who only see you as a tool for their convenience. Today, I am accountable to no one but myself, surrounded by genuine friends who value me for who I am, not what I can do for them. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Would you have crashed that dinner, or walked away silently? Comment the city you're watching from and let me know your thoughts.